Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 17 of the Natural Female Muscle Podcast. Today, we are joined by natural athlete, sports massage therapist, WNBF judge, and online coach Rimini. Rimini has been on a fantastic journey within bodybuilding from her first season, where she had some amazing success as a bikini competitor in 2021, to now transitioning up towards the figure division over this past off season. I am very, very excited to discuss all parts of this journey into bodybuilding and obviously the most recent goals that you've set, which are very, very exciting too. So thank you very much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. That's an introduction and a half, that was.
Everyone says that, but I'm like,
I
you
know.
deserve that introduction. Like, it's just a nice little roundup of you, and you definitely have such a cool journey. And we've never really had the opportunity to like properly speak either. So I'm really excited to kind of get into it and just appreciate you wanting to share that for everyone as well.
Definitely. I think it'll be really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really
So
appreciate it.
I think the best part to obviously start with, as I do for most people, is bringing you back to sort of like your earliest context into your journey with bodybuilding. And sometimes I know that starts even before you start going to the gym when it comes to those roots of being competitive and being a little bit sporty. And I know you have a bit of a background there. So do you want to give us a little bit of an insight in terms of where everything all began and then how things kind of trended from there?
Yeah, pretty much. So, this goes back way further than what I even told you. So, me and my sisters, we literally did just about everything. We did gymnastics, we did dancing, we did swimming, we did athletics, literally anything that my mum and dad could kind of like let us enjoy whilst they went and did like the food shop or something like that. They just like put us in. And we kind of like our main priorities were gymnastics and athletics. And we were all very competitive. So my older sister is like 2 years older than me, younger sister's 2 years younger. So it's all very like compact, and like we were near enough all at the same level. Like for example, now my older sister still does the gymnastics at like a high level, and then my sister does elite pole vault and has competed for Great Britain.
That's
So
immense.
I know, so we're all kind of like really like into like what our passions are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I did find that passion in long jump until lockdown started.
Okay.
Kind of lost the vibe for it. And something that I've looked back at now is my coach just wasn't being intense with me. The people around me were kind of just like doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of needed something to be like, okay, we need to like make sure we can do everything possible to make me the best I can be in that area.
Yeah.
I saw like this girl on Instagram doing like her bikini posing in 2016, and I was a big fan of that. And then kind of held on to that until I decided to get a coach in 2020, like summer 2020, and then I kind of haven't looked back from there.
Yeah. Did that just kind of spur purely out of like the whole lockdown situation, feeling like you needed something that was maybe a bit like competitive again?
Pretty much, I feel like quite a few things went off. So I was in my last year of uni,
Mm.
and I don't know, I kind of got myself into a bit of a rut, especially with like dieting,
Yeah.
trying to be the smallest person I can be. Obviously looking at Instagram, looking at all the fitness trends as kind of like fasting, like boot bands and all that jazz. And I'm just like, yeah, I want to be small, I want to be small. Went down to like 45 kilograms, kind of looked at myself and I was like, something needs to change, something needs to
Yeah.
like sort it out, otherwise it's just gonna get worse. And then yeah, I looked into bodybuilding a bit. I started following people like Zena, Hannah's Health, and I
Mm.
was like, oh, I want to do that, because that's when they started to like do a prep, or
Yeah.
they was about to compete. Definitely with Zena, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this. So
Yeah.
then got a coach, and then yeah, 14 months later, I stepped on stage,
That's
which is
immense.
crazy.
It's crazy though, isn't it? Because it's like you were just saying before you transitioned over to that bodybuilding journey, you wanted to just be like the smallest version of yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people think that coming into bodybuilding actually especially from the outside perspective, they think it enforces like negative habits, like you become so fixated on like your eating and your training and this and that. But I actually think that more of like mainstream media is way more focused on like negative habits when it comes to food and training compared to bodybuilding, where we're actually just like, okay, be the best version of yourself. Like, did you
Yeah.
see that comparison quite a lot for you and your journey?
Yeah, so when I can remember when I started bodybuilding and I told my mum and dad that I wanted to compete, and straight away they just wasn't happy with it. They was like, oh my God, like, no, we don't want you getting big, you know. They just assumed bodybuilding and assistants put together. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, 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 that's not going to happen. Like, I've only just started anyway. And obviously, now that I've decided that I want to go into that natural route,
Yeah.
they do understand it more. But at first, I was like, no, we don't want you doing that. Because obviously, they were like, we want you to stay in sport. So I was like, oh, okay, well, this is technically a sport. So I'd like to do this. So yeah, prep and stuff like that it wasn't difficult, but it was difficult for them to kind of get the grasp of when I was like measuring my food, doing my check-ins every morning when I was like doing back-to-back shows. So yeah, it's kind of like quite a lot of my old friends as well kind of portrayed it to be like really unhealthy and really damaging. And I kind of looked at it as like a thing of, okay, well, I find that people going out drinking every weekend is an unhealthy habit, but you know, because the majority of people do it, they don't realize that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you start getting into it when you're quite young as well, because it's just so different from what most people who are like 18, 19, 20 are doing. And like it still doesn't make sense to me how it's like how it's perceived that like doing this thing where we're like we are actually like looking after ourselves. Like, yes, there's a period in prep where you get a bit unhealthy, but like for the most part, like we're just trying to be better. It's perceived as worse than like going out and binge drinking every weekend.
Yeah.
It's like how does that make sense? But yeah, it's nice to hear that you kind of like felt that at points as well, because I think that a lot of people feel a bit on their own whenever they do have like any resistance when it comes to prepping or bodybuilding. And did your parents maybe find like the actual like getting on stage and getting in a bikini thing like interesting to understand as well?
Yeah, they were kind of like, oh, but what, everyone's going to look at you in a bikini. And because I kind of understood that it was just for like looking at muscularity, just seeing how lean you are, seeing how you can execute your physique at the time. They didn't really get it until they actually came to watch one of my shows.
Yeah.
They come to watch the NFM UK, and it was like a lot more like friendly kind of environment. They, instead of like a full-on theater with rows, they had like circle tables. You could socialize with other people. Food, drink was like on the house. It was all good. And they actually really enjoyed it. And I was like, it was just like a flick of a switch that I'd gone on stage, I'd come off stage, and I was like, oh, we're actually really proud of you.
That's so nice.
And
That's amazing.
like,
And those experiences can then obviously just translate into making the process so much nicer for you as a whole as well.
yeah, definitely made it more wholesome. And I was kind of like, oh, I knew they'd like turn at one point and go, oh, it's actually really good. And it was just like the best part when I was actually up there, like posing, enjoying it, smiling. And I think that they could see that it meant a lot to me, and that I actually like fell in love with it whilst I was doing the whole prep stuff. And I was like, okay, they get it.
Let's actually bring it back a little bit to just before you went on that first prep, in terms of what was the process like leading up for you going into that prep? Because I know you said you started working with a coach, and then things kind of moved from there. Did you take a little bit of time to grow first? And like, when was the moment when you realized, okay, I'm going to step on stage and this is when we're going to plan things out? And obviously the decision to actually move into bikini from there as well.
Yeah. So bikini was always going to be the option, whether I've changed my mind to go into figure, or to stay at bikini. But at that point, I did admire bikini and the look of it. And then when I signed up with my coach, we just went straight into a surplus. So I think so low, but my training calories were starting at 1,600 and my rest days were 1,400, just because during the lockdown I'd put myself on such little food.
Yeah.
And then it just went really smoothly. It was really nice. Started enjoying going to the gym, started like doing the form videos and sending them off to my coach. I really enjoyed doing upper body a lot as well. So my upper body adapted quite nicely. Legs not so much, but we're working on that. And then it was 9 months. And then February 2021, we had like a phone call and was like, okay, well, if you want to compete at this certain show, which was a PCA first timers, we need to book it now. And I was looking at UK DFBA, with the one that was a week before. And I was like, oh, I could do that one too. And then PCA put a post up saying obviously you can't compete before doing the first timers. So I was like, I really want to do this first timer. So I just went for it, obviously being aware that if I step on stage, I'm potentially going to step on stage against people who have had that assistance, who have been training for a lot longer. So I kind of got that in the mind and kind of went with the mindset of prep of going, I just want to step on stage and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then, I got a lot out of it, a lot more out of it than I expected. To be fair.
Well, you got a pretty decent outcome from your first showing though, didn't you? Were you expecting that?
No. So literally, when we was backstage pumping up, I literally looked at the other competitors and went, right, I'm coming last. Because there was 2 girls that were like really, really small. And I was like, yeah, they're bikinis, they're really small. And then we had one girl that was complete opposite, but she was like, I don't know, like her upper body was so built. And I was like kind of like in the middle of both them sides. I was like, oh, well, I don't know what they're going to see in me. But your brain plays so many tricks when you're not on a lot of food.
Yeah, just a few.
Yeah. So then I kind of went on stage. I was like, right, we're just going to enjoy it, do what I've been practicing. And somehow won.
That's immense. I mean, I spoke to Chelsea. I spoke to her.
Yes.
She's coached by Steph. I spoke to her the other day and she said like the exact same thing, how when she was backstage, it's like so easy to look around at other people and think, oh, they look big, or maybe I'll beat them, or maybe they're going to beat me. And it's so hard because ultimately at that point you can't change anything. But you always fall victim to like looking at others. And did you find that across the season you kind of got a bit better at not worrying about that so much and just focusing on you?
As in during my prep at that time?
Yeah, and just like when you get backstage, like being able to just focus on like, this is where I'm at, I'm going to present what I've got to present and not worrying about the other competitors as much.
Yeah, so after that PCA first timers, I did the PCA British finals 3 weeks after. Didn't place. I think I came like 6th or 7th out of 8. So I didn't get first call outs or anything like that. So from there, that was really disheartening, by the way.
Yeah.
I was going from winning to then going, it was kind of like this is going to sound really big-headed of me, but once you've won a show, you kind of go with the automation of, oh, I'm going to do really well in this one. Kind of.
Yeah, well, of course.
And having that be my first show, I didn't realise the actual standard of a British champs.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I got this. And then didn't get it. And that kind of like pushed me back a little. But I still did 2 shows afterwards, back to back.
What did you do to like mentally come back from that in the moment? Because that can be really hard, especially when you have more shows planned or you're thinking of doing more shows. It can knock your confidence big time, even though it shouldn't. And I'm sure now, as like now that you're like judging, that you understand how things can change from show to show. But at that point, how did you get yourself to like pick back up from that and move on from that kind of loss?
I think for me it was just like sleeping on it, going back home, just carrying on ticking the boxes because I wasn't finished. And obviously I had them closer people who did do bodybuilding, and like they gave me a phone call, kind of like told me like, you got so many more opportunities and this is your first season, like just go and enjoy yourself. And And then the next 2 shows that I did, I placed quite nicely. So yeah, it kind of made up for that British finals. And then the other case is like, obviously people look for different things on different days and different shows. So I may have had the potential look for that first time, but then I didn't have the look for British finals because obviously it's kind of like a level up. So they want them a lot leaner. They want them having a lot more muscle mass. And then it was the first time being against people that had been on stage more than once as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes a huge difference. Like from the first time a show standard is still like incredible. But then I bet a lot of people who also did the first timers wouldn't have even gone to the finals as well. So it's such a huge difference to go from one to the other. But did that experience kind of help you to be able to understand how like things can change from shows, and taking the loss and being able to sort of appreciate that now going into like your next seasons, you have that better understanding and you won't feel, I mean, I think everyone will always feel a bit shit if ever they don't get the placing that they want because we want to win. But being able to like appreciate bodybuilding from a wider perspective a little bit better when it comes to being judged and how placings are given out.
Yeah. So obviously like looking at the bikini criteria is, well, it's a lot more confusing than like figure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like on the day, like just understanding that the sport is so subjective and your same look is not going to be appreciated the same in your different federations or by the same judges, but just on a different day. If there's someone that they prefer, then that's who they're going to pick. They're not bothered about how many steps you've done or how little food you've been on or how many times you've cried during a check-in or whatever. Like they literally it's just about you on stage there, what they see, how you present yourself and who else is on stage as well. And they're factors that obviously majority of them you can control, but you can't control who else is on the stage. And whoever does place, they deserve it at the end of the day. And yeah, it's just with people's eyes and seeing like what they prefer and what they like.
Yeah, 100%. And bikini is one that you see it in so much because the look can, like what they want to see can vary on the lineup that's there. It can vary on the federation, like massively. Like the difference between federations for bikini is crazy as a competitor. So like managing those can be really, really difficult, like physically and mentally as well. And that obviously brings me on to your obviously decision to come away from bikini and transition over to figure. That I'm interested to know if like that was maybe like also one of the reasons why you wanted to move away, or what was the overall reason? I know it's probably just because you like figure and you want to grow towards that, but just chat us through like the main reasons why you decided to take that step up.
It was between the PCA first time and PCA British finals. I was looking at people that I was doing figure, and I was like, it's just such a strong look, and I admire that. And alongside of the training as well, I'm not saying that bikini girls don't train with intense, but I feel like you'll understand me on this one. Like going into like wanting to literally gain quite a lot of size and tissue, well, as much as we possibly can. Because as we know, naturals don't really grow as much. We literally want to be able to do anything we possibly can to be able to grow that tissue. So it means the sessions are intense. You've got like loads of drop sets, cluster sets, like heavy deadlifts and stuff like that. And I don't think at the time bikini training was as intense as what it is like now, for example. And then like I don't ever want to limit that side of bodybuilding, like the training side, just because I need to stay a bit smaller. And then looking at show pictures as well, looking at like lineups, I always had like my lats just pop out. I don't know if that was because of my posing or just because my back was such a strength, but I was kind of like they like longer limbs, like a taller kind of girls, and I'm quite short, and now I'm like quite stocky, and I'm just like, okay, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah, you can definitely see that in your physique. Like you have I mean, figure is such a structure driven category anyway, but you naturally have that structure and you also have the passion to train in the way that you train. And I totally understand what you're saying from the bikini front. It's not necessarily like the intensity, like you say, because that's come on a lot, but it's the way that you have to train for bikini. Like you have to be very, very direct in, you can't train too much, like to create too much thickness in your physique. You can't have too big of quads. You can't have too big a back, which when you're somebody who just wants to train hard and just wants to grow and wants to maximize everything they can do, like it's not, well, a limiting, but it is a focused category. It's very different to like all the rest of them. And have you seen your trainings obviously transitioned a lot from maybe what you were doing before to what you're doing now? Or is it more so that you can just do what you want now and not have to worry about how that affects your criteria?
It was quite different. Obviously with bikini, I think it was more to do so with the experiences of my coaches. So I was my coach's first competitive client as well. And now I'm coached by my partner, Jack. But like the training sessions are completely different. And like they're a lot more intense. But I like that. I want to go into the gym and be like, okay, I've got these numbers to match or beat. And they were intense last time. So it's going to be intense, but that's my 2 hours of me time before like having clients in upstairs at the gym or coming home doing check-in calls and stuff like that. I like to literally just take all my stress and anger out on the gym.
Has that always been something that you've really enjoyed as well? Because I know a lot of people think that the pressure of like going in and having to do something really intense is stressful, which I think that when you love it, and like you say, for you, it is your place. Like it doesn't become that stress. Is that something that you always have found with your training as well?
Yeah, I find it quite like nice and even though I'm lifting heavy, like I find it really relaxing for myself. Because every time I walk in, I'm like, okay, I want to be stronger, and that's the mindset that I have. And like as long as I get that session done, it may not always go to plan. We do sometimes have regressions where we need a deload and stuff like that, but like for the long term, as long as you're slowly progressing, I'm happy with that. And I can tell that definitely with my legs, like recently, that the intensity has definitely been worth it.
Is that a body part that you find is a little bit harder for you to grow? Because I know you said your upper body is super responsive. Have you found that you've had to focus a lot more on like bringing up your lower half as well?
Yeah, so we're now training lower 3 times a week. And we've taken away some back volume.
Have you ever found that mentally quite challenging with like those weaker parts? Because I think it's something that we always speak about as bodybuilders is like, we know we want to improve, but at the same time, we're horrendously critical of ourselves at points as well. How have you managed to like look at those areas that you know you want to improve and to take a strong mindset with that?
Yeah, so like obviously me and Jack like sat down, spoke about it when I joined with Jack. It was around this time last year, to be fair. And the coach beforehand didn't really put into consideration that my legs were a weakness, which I was quite shocked about. And Jack was like, okay, we need to put in 3 leg sessions a week because you need to build your legs. And with figure, obviously, it's like a massive X frame. You've got to have the legs follow the upper body. So yeah, at the start it was really challenging, but then it's learning to fall in love with the process of building muscle and just kind of accepting that like my weakness is legs, but someone else's weakness could be upper body. We all have them struggles. We all have body parts where we can grow muscle like really quick or grow size, and then you've also got the lacking areas, but that's what makes us all so different. And that's why I enjoy bodybuilding, because everyone's so individual. But yeah, with the leg sessions, they're getting easier. They're getting easier. Lifting heavy with legs is a bit more of a struggle compared to like my back. But I'm just like I said, I'm just trusting the process. Obviously, I've still got like a year and 5 months before I step on stage again. Like I've got some time to really knuckle down and take advantage of the time that I've got. But yeah, the legs are a killer.
Yeah, but you're working on them though, and like that's the most important thing that you can ever do is like break it down, know that you're doing everything that you can possibly do to make those body parts better, and remembering that everybody has that. I think that's like the worst thing that we often do is like we compare to like somebody else who seems to have like the perfect balance, the perfect physique, and it's like everybody has like something that they're working on. Like for example, I can't train my back for shit, so it's like everyone has like something. And I think that being able to put that into context and then just focusing on you, and everyone hates saying you versus you, but it is all you can do. And as long as you're breaking that down and not worrying so much about the end destination, because I think the worst thing that so many people do, especially when you're setting a big goal, like I don't think a lot of people realize like moving up from a category or really trying to take a next step, like it can feel daunting being like, okay, I'm going to be a figure athlete next time I step on stage. You can just be thinking about, okay, I need to be in figure, and like not actually think about, okay, what do I just need to do on a day to day, on a week by week to get there. And just breaking it down in that process. And that obviously brings me down to just the whole process as a whole, and the fact that you've had to focus on really growing a lot to move towards figure division. And that comes with big pushing phases, like a long time being uncomfortable, like you've had a big off season. How has that whole process been for you, like both physically and mentally?
I think I'm going to be pretty honest. I have like struggled definitely. This time last year, I struggled the most, and I think it's because it was the first like year round where I wasn't prepping. I was seeing everyone else prep who'd compete against me last year. Even though they're doing bikini, in my mind, I was still like, oh, but I could compete. And the whole kind of feeling of being on stage and like being all glamorous and stuff like that, we forget like how bad it is to get there, like how much it takes to get there. But we just remember like the good times of being on stage. And obviously being away from that, it was kind of like, do I feel like I'm in the bodybuilding industry? Like, do I feel that, oh, because I'm not competing, I'm not worthy of it? You know what I mean? So like learning to accept that it's not my time yet was definitely one to like sit back and work on. And then this year's been a lot easier. The end of last year, obviously, I started getting involved with judging at WNBF. So having other aspects of the bodybuilding to be involved in definitely helps. Like having a different role, which isn't getting on stage and being lean.
Yeah, that definitely makes a huge difference. I found that even myself, like going to shows and like being a part of it helps me to feel like I'm still involved, even though you feel like, because we almost feel like we have to stay relevant, which like we don't, but it's like just still feeling like you're there and you're feeling like you're a part of it, because often we think that like if we're not lean or if we're not competing, it's like we actually like bodybuilding, because it's like so hard to see it. But you are, and if anything, you're properly bodybuilding because you're committing to those phases. And obviously one of the biggest things that comes along with that is like the body fat, is the periods of being uncomfortable, which like you said before you'd even start competing, you were all the way down at like 45 kilos, and I know now you're sitting closer towards like the 60 kilo-ish mark. How has that been? Because it's easy to write in an Instagram post and say like, yeah guys, like I'm 10 kilos up and it's hard, but actually going through that on the day-to-day can be a real challenge. How did you manage overcoming like pushing to those soft places, but ultimately the places where you knew you were going to progress?
I just think it's like understanding that it has to be done. So I can remember post show, I think I gained about 2 kilograms, 3 kilograms max. And then I had like, I didn't have a great coaching experience with Matt. So I swapped coaches from the one who prepped me to like a different coach. And whilst I was with the coach from post show to last July, they were making comments like, oh, we can't get you over 55 kilograms. We don't want you getting too like fluffy, etc. So I always had that in my mind. Like if I step on the scales and I reach like 55 kilograms, it's like I've done something really bad.
Yeah.
And looking back at that now, like in my head, I'm just like, what on earth was I believing? Because I'm now sitting at 59 from this morning, and I feel good for it. I can see that my body's definitely developed, and it's not as bad as what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
It has meant that I've needed to get a whole new wardrobe, but that's given. It's going to have to be. I can't keep trying to fit into clothes that I wore when I was like 45 to like my stage weight of 48 kilograms.
Yeah.
And obviously being small, well, shorter, it doesn't take a lot of weight to gain to look bigger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I never find that is like one of the things that we deal with when we're a bit shorter.
Yeah.
Because I look at people who gain like 20 kilograms per show and stuff like that, like obviously not straight away, but I look and they're like, yeah, but they're still lean.
Yeah, you feel it heavy when you've only got about this much height.
Yeah. Like
this
my top's just so short, and I'm just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's just like accepting that you've got to kind of like sit back, just do the do. Trust. Well, I trust Jack, and I trust the people around me to tell me like maybe if I was getting like too fluffy, then they would say like I've got them people around me that'll be honest. But like I'm in better shape being 59 kilograms than I was when I was 45 kilograms.
Yeah.
Like I look leaner, but it's because I've grown tissue. Exactly. And it's really weird to even think about that. Like if you said that to a normal person, they'd be like, but surely you'd be in better shape if you're lighter, but it's not the case.
No, it's not. Like when you train really hard and when you're committed to spending time to it, I think people forget like it's not just all going to be body fat. Like the whole reason why you're doing it is because you're going to grow tissue. Like, yeah, body fat will be there and you'll feel a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit soft at points, but you will have more muscle there. And like in a year's time, you're going to really thank yourself that you did that, because it does pay off, and it ultimately does show massively between the individuals who do only stay 5 kilos within the stage weight and the individuals who push more. Like it never fails. Like the truth, it just does not lie. So you will definitely see that when you come down. And I'm glad that you've been able to now surround yourself by people who will be honest with you, who also aren't afraid to like push you as well. And has that made quite a big difference to also have like Jack in your corner and to know that ultimately, and this is something that I've seen, is like your partner's not going to lie to you. Like if you're getting a bit chubby, they'll probably tell you straight away. So has that really helped having him as part of your process and to push you to that next level?
Yeah, definitely. It's like he's there by my side 24, well, not 24/7, but he's always in my corner.
Yeah.
Really supportive, really open and honest. If I'm like in a bit of a rut with like clothes fitting me and stuff like that, he's like, yeah, but you're growing tissue, like you need to just like put them to a side and just get some more clothes. Like it's fine, you can treat yourself. Obviously he's wanting me to push up more, which I'm just gonna fall, like I was gonna say fall for it as if it was gonna the outcome was gonna be bad. I'm just gonna trust his instinct because he is very, very knowledgeable. And he works with quite a few clients now, and like seeing like his clients' transformations from like off season to like going into like a mini cut and stuff like that. It's just like, well, he does the do with his clients, so it won't be any different for me. So yeah, just trusting what he says, and he gives such amazing feedback to me. Like I feel like you'll understand this. Like you can separate yourself from like having the relationship to when you like do a check-in or when you're like changing food. Like it's coach mode kind of thing. Yeah.
It has to be that way, otherwise it all just gets very confusing.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't be with Jack when I prep because he will be prepping at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't think I want to put that added pressure onto him.
Of course.
But like we've done mini cuts together, and that went really well. I kind of don't really have like food focus, if that makes sense. So when I'm on like a mini cut or a prep, I'll just like get it done. I'm fine. Like the goal changes. Obviously, I find it more difficult with off season because, like we said, it's gaining body fat, it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
It's like not your stereotypical like normal body look kind of thing, like what normal people would consider as like fit and healthy and kind of stuff. But yeah, like at the end of the day, I'm not a normal person. I'm here to bodybuild and to prep and to go through that process for as long as I can, really, without any like health implications, and just follow the route as it is.
Absolutely. And you just touched really briefly there as well on just like food focus at the moment and relationship with food being in a good spot. Is that something that you ever have found difficult, or did you ever find that post show period difficult when, like you say, you were maybe staying a little bit leaner for a period of time as well?
I think it was more to do with the fact that the coach at the time was telling me that I needed, like, I had a limit on how much I should have weighed.
Okay.
So then we go, okay, now I need to be focused on the food that I'm eating. And obviously post show, you do get a lot hungrier. Your hunger hormones go absolutely crazy. So like any like big cookies or brownies that I had, put them in the freezer, cut them up into pieces. So then if I did want that and like to satisfy my hunger, just take a bit out, put it in the microwave, happy days. I learned how to like not binge and like regret it a few days after when the water weight's gone up and the weight's gone up. And because I always find cutting easier than bulking, I felt post show went really well, the smoothest it could have gone.
Yeah.
I didn't have really any like binging episodes or any episodes where I was like, oh, I can't eat anything. Yeah. It just went really smoothly. But I think it was kind of good that I kind of had that pressure of the 55 kilograms until I then needed to gain some size.
Yeah.
And I quite understand why that was such a limit there. Because I think I weighed like 56 before I started prep. And yeah, body composition wasn't great, but like we've said, it has to be done.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's pros and cons that you take out of all those situations. So like you say, it's taught you how to manage the hunger and manage the focus in those phases. But at the same time, you've also learned what you don't want to do with the mentality when you come out of prep, when you're limiting maybe like the progress you could take. And that's just the beauty of like bodybuilding at points, is we get some things right, we don't get some things right, but then you're able to like learn and develop from that. And I think the fact that you had that first prep, you gave it everything, you then also had a really good stint of off season, which is such a valuable thing to have as a young athlete. You know that you're going to go into this next prep and you're going to have all of those tools that we always continue to build upon, but they're definitely going to be so much better than they were the last time around. Do you feel a lot more confident in that?
Yeah, definitely. As well as like having the knowledge of how last prep and post show went, you kind of know what to expect. Obviously, your first time, you don't really know what to expect. Like you hear people's stories, but everyone's so different. So like it, like for example, like loads of people lose the cycle. I didn't lose my cycle at all. Whether that was because I started my journey as 45 kilograms and still had a cycle there.
Yeah.
Who knows? But like there's always a learning curve when it comes to prep and stuff like that. Like you'll always get like little like blips in it where something doesn't go quite right and like we have a breakdown and yeah, but that's just still part of the process. And I feel like I do like that, because then if anything kind of gets in my way, we can kind of like either adapt the plan that we've got or just kind of go, okay, let's manage it and keep going forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And how are you feeling with the goals going into 2024 as well, with like, because I didn't actually touch upon, sort of what federations you're planning to compete with, what you've kind of set your sights on. I think obviously sometimes a nice thing about moving up to that new category is that you don't kind of have any expectations, but at the same time, I know you will have some sort of goals that you'll have set. So do you want to kind of break down what your thoughts are leading into that season next year?
So my plans are just like looking into going down the natural federations, just so I can see like what my potential is and where I kind of like stand on a natural stage. As much as I want to step on a PCA stage, there's the difference between like assisted figure and natural figure. as much as people probably will say, well, if you're good, you could win a PCA, like it's completely different.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got Meg. I can't remember her last name. She just won a pro card at PCA. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. And she just won like the pro figure world title as well, which is, it's a completely different ball game to like an amateur like qualifier or even a national show. Like it's a completely different level.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, UK DFBA, WNBF, maybe a BNBF as well. Obviously, I don't want to like go, oh, I'll do like everything and anything and run myself into the ground doing back-to-back shows all the time, because I think at the end of my bikini season, I had one judge come to me and was like, I've judged you at every single show and you're starting to get tired. And I was like, okay. The aim would be to get like world invites from WNBF, as I got that last time. Obviously, I know I'm going up a category, is kind of still having that in mind. So that would be amazing. UK DFBA, just enjoying it. I think I want to make sure that I've got like a before and after to kind of like see and be like, oh, I've actually grown this much tissue.
Yeah.
And I'm leaner. And this is more me, like going into figure instead of being bikini.
Yeah. Do you feel a bit more excited about that as well?
Yeah. I feel excited, but there is that little bit of pressure of going, okay, well, what if you're in your head and you're like, what if I've not actually made that much progress? Because obviously you're not as lean until you get on stage, and it's like, okay, you just like you're in your own head. But I'm sure I'd have made some differences.
You will. I know the feeling. I do know the feeling. And it's, oh God, it's such a like a head fuck being a natural female athlete, because you literally will not see much of the progress until you're like 5 pounds off stage weight, because we just look so different unless you do hold your body fat very favorably. Like most of us just won't see it until that point. And you've just got to have trust in that process, but it will pay off. Like you've just got to keep reminding yourself of that. And I'm very excited to see it as well. It'll be awesome to see. So what are your plans for the rest of this year then? Is it just a full year of kind of growing ahead? I know you recently started up your coaching as well in February. So some business goals maybe related to that as well.
Yeah, basically for the business goals, definitely, because I want to have the financial side sorted for prep, because prep is expensive. Bodybuilding as a whole is expensive as well. So I think my main goal for that is like having the massage and the coaching as my like fully self-employed side. I've just signed up as a sole trader. Like self-employment. So that was like a big like step for me, because I've always like held back and kind of gone, okay, well, if I do this and then my clients will disappear, I don't know why. You kind of have like so many doubts when you want to just take that little step. It was like with the online coaching. So I started that in February. And in my head, I was like, well, who would want me to coach them kind of stuff? And then within a week, I'd had like 3 or 4 people sign up, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I was just like, great. So majority of them are lifestyle. We have got plans for one of my clients competing next July.
Epic.
So that's really exciting. We went to you know how Sanaya does these posing workshops?
Yeah.
So we had her do one of them yesterday, and I went to go help out Sanaya, and she just looked like so ahead of it all. And I was like, this is really exciting, because posing is so difficult, and if she's got that there, then that's something that we don't need to necessarily worry about when it comes to getting her on stage. So it's just really good to look at. But yeah, business in order before I start prep, definitely.
Is that something that you found you feel quite passionate about, and especially seeing that with like one of your clients, is how much you want to like grow the coaching side of things and just everything kind of coming together there?
Yeah, definitely. With that and the sports massage, because I do get a lot of bodybuilders come for a sports massage, whether it's to sort out the posing or like the few days before stage where they get the lymphatic drainage done. It's so nice to have like different kind of bodybuilders in, and kind of like have their experience on prep, how they've enjoyed it. And like orientating myself around them type of people has definitely been like really good. And then obviously the lifestyle side, like you're literally changing people's lives for the better and making people understand what a healthy lifestyle is. And it's really good that I'm able to adapt from like a lifestyle client per se to the client that's potentially going to step on stage next year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool. And I look forward to seeing that grow a lot, because you clearly are like so knowledgeable, but also so passionate about what you do. And, you know, when you're passionate about what you do and you love what you do, it will always pay off and pay dividends. So that's really, really cool to see. But thank you so much for obviously coming on today and chatting to me about everything. It's been lovely to have a good chat with you. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very, very excited to follow along your journey as well. So do you want to give yourself a little bit of a plug to let everyone know where they can find you on Instagram, where they can find all of your businesses and everything like that as well?
Yeah, so Instagram is just Rimini Fit. And if you fancy looking at my TikTok, it's the same thing. So if you're down in Derby and want a sports massage, it's MILORO Sports Massage. You can literally book it straight through the link in the bio. And if you have any coaching inquiries, just like, again, link in bio in the fitness page. So, but yeah, if anyone wants a message about going from the bikini to figure journey, then yeah, just send a message and I'll get back.
Amazing. Thank you. I'll make sure to pop those in the description as well. But thank you so much again for coming on. Thank you so much to everybody for listening. As always, if you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow and rate us on Spotify. And I'll be back with another episode next week.